Okay, I'd like to call the September 22nd Park Board meeting to order at 6 o'clock. We'll start by reciting the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Abernathy, if I could have the roll call, please.
Mr. Holstein?
Present.
Mr. Marquardt?
Present.
Ms. Sheehan will be absent. Ms. Tauber? Present. Ms. Sandberg will be absent. Mr. Salatas?
Present.
Mr. Austin?
Present.
Ms. Abernathy? Present.
Okay, we have a quorum. All right, so we'll start with announcements, which is a very exciting announcement. On behalf of the Town of Cedar Lakes Park and Recreation Board, we are very proud to introduce our new Parks and Recreation Coordinator, Hope. So, Hope came to us from the Newton County Library System, where she did programming and all sorts of things that are going to be applicable to the position here in town, and I'll allow you to introduce yourself a little bit more and just say welcome.
Hi, thanks for the warm welcome. I'm excited for the new job. I'm feeling a little overwhelmed right now, but I'll catch on. So, I promise to do a great job for you guys. I'm looking forward to having a lot of fun and bringing a lot of fun to the community. So, thank you again. Thank you.
I stopped in to visit with Hope and Miss Margaret today, and the first thing that really impressed me is I started blotting my usual ideas out, and Hope has a notebook, and she just starts writing. And I was like, you're going to need more notebooks. So,
it's a notebook.
but it was encouraging to see, and we're very excited to see where things go from here. So again, welcome, Hope.
Thank you.
Glad to have you as part of the team.
Thanks.
So, all right. So presentations. Item number 1 is a presentation by Shay. I still can't say her last name. Shay.
Arroquio.
Yes, Arroquio of Chicago Safaris. Shay, come on up to the podium, please, and we can talk about why you're here.
Absolutely. You guys can hear me okay? Awesome. And I think we're going to be sharing the presentation on screen right now. Typically, I like being right next to my presentation, so we'll figure out a way to make this work. But just kicking things off, Shay Arroquio, so I'm the owner-operator of Chicago Safaris. My goal today is just to provide a little perspective on the business, what we do, and how we can support the town going forward on just some different creative ideas. So with that said, we can go ahead and start the presentation and roll to the first slide. So first things first, just giving a little company profile. So again, Chicago Safaris, we are based out of Dyer, Indiana, but we do service Michigan, Indiana, and Illinois. I'm the single owner and operator with this business. It's been in place for the last 5.5 years. It's self-funded. This is an idea I came up with many, many years ago in the service industry, working in the food, beverage industry, and living in the city of Chicago for about 10 years. I always had this idea of starting a tourism business. I knew a lot of folks. I love to show people around town. I love to eat. I love to drink responsibly. But I thought it'd be a great idea to show people around town. I have a 2-vehicle fleet with 5 rotating drivers. Standard service includes our wine tours. We do transportation services for concerts, baseball games, but we also do services for airport runs as well. It's very highly client-based, so a lot of my business comes from referrals from my clients that I've had over the last 5 years. I do limited marketing. Again, I've been very fortunate to maintain this business for over 5 years without necessarily having to spend a ton of funds on marketing. If you roll to the next slide, again, a little bit about me, education-wise. I have a master's in education. I actually started my career in education field, teaching mathematics at the high school and middle school level. But I am currently in supply chain. That's actually my full-time job, and this is kind of my side hustle that I do on the side. And then, honestly, other things to share about myself, just personally, I'm of Nigerian descent, but my family is now based in St. Louis. I call the Midwest my home. You know, St. Louis was high school, middle school. I went to college at DePaul University in Greencastle, Indiana. But over the last 10 years, I've spent time between Illinois and here in Northwest Indiana. I've got 2 kids, a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. They're both knuckleheads, but we have a lot of fun together. And then just, again, for me, I'm a life learner. I like to learn, both within my professional career, but also my business. I've learned a lot over the 5 years, and the people I surround myself with are very important, and it's a big concept of my business. If you roll to the next slide. So, what do we do? What's our mission? Honestly, guys, when it comes down to it, it's just showing people a good time and providing great service, whether it be for our line tours, our transportation services, or airport run. Safety is a big name of the game when it comes to transportation. And then vision-wise, honestly, guys, my goal is to just continue to be a provider in this community. It's very important to me that I can provide back to the environment that I live in and the folks that I engage with. If you roll to the next slide. So get into the business a little bit. I've already shared a lot of this. You know, we do a lot around tailgating. We take folks up to the White Sox game, the Cubs game. We do a lot around golf outings. We do things like girls' nights, the concerts. We do city tours. But again, the main core of the business is providing wine tours out to Southwest Michigan. If you go to the next slide. The vehicles we utilize what's called the Mercedes-Benz Sprinter. It's exactly what you see here. I've got 2 versions of the vehicle. I've got one that's a standard passenger vehicle, a 14-passenger, but then I've also got one that's more of a limo style, more of a VIP experience. A lot of folks like that for their outings, for weddings, but also, again, for things like the wine tours, the baseball games. And yeah, the vehicles are great. Looks very classy. It's very luxurious. It's not your standard shuttle van, not your standard bus. So it's somewhat of a differentiator for us when we talk about transportation services. If you roll to the next slide, you know, you guys have heard a lot from me, but I would love to show you a little bit about our clients. If you want to switch over to the video, you can see some of our guests and some of our wine tours. right, guys, just wanted to give you a flavor of what the wine tours look like. A couple things to point out, most of the time we're going to take our clients out to these wineries. You see the lanyards, you see the cups. We've got several providers that are very close partners out there. Part of what makes us different is a lot of what we do is not just taking folks out to the wineries. We set up the entire tour for them. We book their reservations. It's an all-inclusive experience. So once folks pay their price up front, they don't worry about anything else for the rest of the day. And then also just showing them a good time, providing them excellent service really sets us apart. If you look at our Google reviews, it's probably over 50 reviews out there, complete 5-star. I don't think we have 1 4-star review out there. Okay, just a couple more slides and then I'll wrap up here for you. Let's see, what else do I have on here? So part of what I do is I do my homework. I, again, want to be a differentiator in the space. When I look at my competitors, whether it be price, service, number of hours offered, or what's included in their packages, we really set ourselves apart from some of the other folks that play in this space. Whether it be for city tours, or if you scroll to the next slide, for some of the folks that provide service in the same space, whether it be limo transportation or some of the other folks that do brewery and winery tours as well. Next slide. And then finally, part of what makes us special is I partner with other folks in the area, whether it be the folks up in Hammond, the Courtyard, or the folks in Chesterton, the Hilton Garden Inn. Those are some of my partners that refer us as a preferred vendor. So this is also part of the strategies to engage with other businesses in the area as well. And then you see we were featured last year in the South Shore print over there with a full page kind of showcase on the business. And then if you go to the next slide, just high level, part of what we try to do is, again, make pricing, an all-inclusive pricing for our wine tours, or for the transportation service to the airport, we do Midway and O'Hare. Pricing, again, when you think about parking, for a lot of our folks, typically in the van it's about 14 people. If you take a car up, park for several days, you're paying the same amount, if not more, than the service that we provide for our airport service. And I think that's the last slide I have for you guys. Any questions, thoughts, comments, feedback?
What's the maximum number of people you could transport?
Yep, so we stay below 15 passengers. The passenger vehicle is 14 plus the driver, and then our VIP vehicle is 10. But many a times we do run both for big groups. When we have roughly that 20 or 30 group capacity, we'll run both vehicles at the same time. Yep.
In my conversation with Shay, and I've used his business for my airport transportation. The vehicles are spotless, no odor, no nothing. The drivers are amusing. Very social, kind, nice people. If you can get my wife to laugh at 3 in the morning on an airport run, you've achieved great things, and we really enjoyed the service. But the vision behind this, at least as far as I'm concerned, and in a brief conversation with Shay, is that we are just starting out, and I would like to see us look into a relationship with someone such as Shay, and maybe our first wine tour, Bears game, Hawks game, whatever we can drum up, let's make sure we can fill 25 seats and worry about bigger as we have our successes or whatever. So I guess that's kind of my vision with this, is I know of a trusted company with reliable transportation for our citizens with a good track record. I would like to see us eventually consider offering a wine tour, or whatever we can come up with. Shay Shay has a good imagination, and so do I, and now that Hope's in the picture, we can, work together to come up with ideas and plans. So, because I have him here, Mr. Austin, you and I had spoke, last Friday, but just to kind of review what things we need to address in order to make this something.
Well, first is cost, so that you know how to price for our citizens the opportunity, whatever it is. Second would be liability insurance, kind of the coverage protections that fall into play with events, no different with this. And then the scope of the event, or the type of use that would be descriptive in a program piece that is understandable, simple, workable. Those are the primary things we talk about. There's
Right.
details in the weeds, but
And then Shay, from your standpoint, what would you need from the municipality? What would you need from the town? Like, what type of thing, is there anything you need from us? I mean, and obviously, if you don't have the answer for that now, my next point is that Mr. Austin and I had spoken, had discussed, you and I and Mr. Salatas sitting down and discussing whether it be a contract or an agreement or, how we're gonna make this work. But is there anything right off the top of your head that you feel you would need in order for us to do this with you?
Yeah, I think, like you mentioned, I have to think a little bit more on that, but right off the bat is just an understanding on what a trial contract would look like, and getting some specifics to, how do we structure commitment to dates and things of that nature. A lot of my business, like I said, is client-based, and it's based on availability. Ideally, I would love to provide service, but also have something locked in where I can guarantee that the service is available for the events that we plan. I would never want to be in a scenario where we plan a date and it's not available, or
Sure.
we have to cancel, things of that nature, right? So some form of commitment from my end and the town's end to lock in some dates and some placeholders. That's the first thing that comes to mind, and then we just work through the details as we go.
Well, one thing I've had to learn, or I'm learning, is that this is not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Absolutely.
So, Chris, myself, Hope, we can all sit down, we can put this together in a proper fashion so that we can all be successful. And if that means that our first event with Chicago Safaris isn't for 6 months, to make sure that everything's right and the date's secure and we can properly let our community know that this is happening, so be it. Let's do this right, But again, I wanted to introduce you to the town government and the board and the community and whatever. Does anyone else have any questions, concerns, comments for Shay?
Do you allow alcohol on your buses?
I do, but we follow every state regulation out there, inclusive of the insurance and liability needed. We do not provide alcohol for others, right? They have to provide it on their own behalf. I know some folks blare that line in this business, but that is one thing that's non-negotiable for me.
Perfect.
Yep.
Sarah, any questions?
No,
Concerns,
I'm just
anything?
interested in going on your tour.
Absolutely.
I still want to do the pizza tour. I'm
Yes.
cool with the wine tour, but man, I like my pizza, so we gotta put that together.
Absolutely.
You don't get this figure by not eating pizza, so.
Absolutely.
Paul, anything?
Only thing is it something where we could possibly, most of the stuff you offer is primarily for adults. Is there something that we could possibly do for children? Obviously with chaperones, 1 or 2 chaperones, but is that something that?
Yeah.
Theater, museum type stuff?
Yep, yeah, the possibilities are limitless, right? We're not locked into anything just for adults. We recently just did a celebration for I think it was a middle school baseball game where they took the kids out to dinner. 1 or 2 parents were on board. I had my kid's 3rd birthday party in the back of the van. We played YouTube. There's live TV in the van, so absolutely, that's something that we could do.
Okay, Councilman, Mr. Washington, Chris, anything?
Was that Lemon Creek Winery?
That was one. Good eye, good eye, good eye, good eye. That's, I think Margaret was saying that's one of her favorites too.
It's really a nice one.
Yes, yes it is, yes it is.
Hope, anything from you?
No.
Okay.
Busy taking notes. Looking forward to it.
It's the notepad, the notepad's out.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, if no one else has anything, Shay, you're welcome to hang out, or you are welcome to leave, and we'll continue this conversation another day.
Absolutely. Dale, just thanks for the opportunity to the members. I appreciate you guys' time. This is always fun getting this type of opportunity, so we look forward to making this work.
Awesome.
All right?
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Yep.
Take care. Okay, item number 2, we have on presentations, Master Gardeners with Rebecca
Kate.
Kate.
It's never what people think.
Guys are challenging me with names today.
I know. Well, before it was Bussy with no Y on the end, so that was even worse, or maybe not as bad, I don't know. I have a few copies, maybe for partners to share.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I don't have a fun video, unfortunately. Does anybody I have more, yeah.
Here we go. Thank you.
I'm gonna keep this one for me, just in case. Yeah, so I am the Urban Ag Extension Educator with Purdue Extension, so my office is in Crown Point, but I have a county-wide position, and I coordinate the Master Gardeners. So Master Gardeners are listed here. They are trained volunteers through Purdue to provide horticulture information to the public, and I'm interested in creating a partnership to provide gardening and natural resources education with Cedar Lake. So what you have in front of you is just a list of some high priority topics based on some discussions. So we have soil health, stewardship of the lake, and gardening. So soil health is kind of a hot topic, but it can expand over a few different areas. So we can talk about composting, we can talk about soil testing, which is a big service that we offer through our office. We don't actually do the testing in the office, although I can test pH because I have a fancy pH monitor. It's really just a little probe thing, but we can teach people how to submit a soil sample for their gardens and then also interpret the results of that soil test. I have done workshops with kiddos and also worked with our local Soil Water Conservation District educators on doing those kinds of programs. In all of these different topic areas, the presentations can be more PowerPoint style or they can be more hands-on workshop style. We can do work with adults, kids, or families. Yeah, so soil is kind of one of my favorite topics because it can go anywhere and it can get as messy as we want or not so messy. So we can do, the PowerPoint, or we can get out different types of soils and really, touch and feel them, and talk about amending soil in our gardens with fertilizers or compost and manure, locating different local sources. Backyard composting is always in demand. Vermicomposting or worm composting is always a lot of fun for adults and kids. It's been a lot of instances where I have gotten out my worm compost bin, and there have been adults in my programs that have never held a worm before, so that's always an exciting adventure. We can talk about having worm compost bins in the house or more compost piles in the backyard. And then as far as stewardship of the lake, I've actually had a community member from Cedar Lake reach out to me. What can I do? I want to help other people learn how they can prevent runoff going into the lake because of this huge project that you guys have going on with dredging the lake. And, we don't want that to happen again, so how can we help? So we can do presentations on how adults can help prevent runoff from going into the lake. We can talk about rainscaping, so things like rain barrels, rain gardens, how to properly fertilize a lawn, things like that. Or with kids, we have all sorts of programs. They can get into the lake and learn how to assess the health of the lake by dip netting or, doing a survey of habitat around the lake. Or we can do board games or different games with kids to understand how they can help the lake, how to improve water quality from home, and of course gardening programs are kind of our bread and butter. So we have master gardeners that come out and give PowerPoint presentations. I can give PowerPoint presentations, or we can also do hands-on activities with kids or adults, whether it's, you know, potting an herb garden to keep inside the home, or having a community garden day where we actually work to install community gardens, and learn about, you know, what it means to create a vegetable garden plan, or we can learn about pollinator plants and how to attract different bees and butterflies, hummingbirds, things like that. Or we also have junior master gardener activities that can be done inside in a classroom setting or outside in the garden. And then I have my contact information if you have any follow-up questions. We can explore other topics. My background's actually in forestry and natural resources, so I love, you know, taking people out and going on hikes. I actually considered a career in parks, like city parks, or working with a state park as a naturalist. I've gone through interpretive naturalist training through the DNR, so that's kind of a passion of mine, but I'm working to kind of put together a list of topics that I would really feel comfortable presenting. But I did actually work with the Dunes this summer to offer a junior master naturalist program, and I am able to offer a master naturalist program if that's something that the parks were interested in. So anything related to farming, gardening, or natural resources. If I can't do it, I can find someone who can. So, any questions for me?
Is soil still sand, silt, and loam?
Sand, silt, and clay, and the perfect amount of those is loam. Loam is the perfect soil, yeah.
I lived in the Pacific Northwest outside of Portland, Oregon for 6 years, and they had an outdoor school program for 5th graders where they spent a week at kind of close to Mount Hood, and the high schoolers were the counselors to the 5th graders, and the college kids were our guides. And it was a great week, and I was the soilologist. That's all I remember, though. It's been since '97, so.
That's cool.
But I think this is cool. I actually really like this. You know, I think we have to learn how to take care of our earth in order to make it around here, and I think there's some really cool topics. I could probably personally benefit from some gardening lessons, but I still won't pull weeds. I'll put that on record. My wife will make sure she knows that I don't pull weeds.
We can explore a topic on, you know, kind of hands-off, like cultural control of weeds, like before, or the anti-weeding presentation. We can work with some language, yeah.
All right. I like this already. Does anyone have any questions for Ms. Rebecca?
Not to jump into like finances right away, but is this funded by Purdue, or does the town, if you came out to do something, does the town have to provide resources, or how does that work?
Yeah, so I don't charge a fee unless it's only, like, if the program was only open to, like, certain group of people or something, then you're expected to, but I don't charge a fee otherwise because we're funded through the county and the state and everything like that. As far as materials, if it's a material that I can keep using, like I can bring and then take back and use for other programs, I'll provide that. If it's a non-reusable material, like potting soil or something, then that is something that you guys would provide.
Okay. Mr. Rushton, your thoughts on how this ties together, how we tie this together as a town event, park event?
I think you have a lot of work for your new employee to do.
Yeah.
This is a tremendous kind of diversion and diversity of programming and activities. It's just a matter of organization.
As far as like an agreement, contract, are you worried about something to that effect, or are we?
I'm not, but I don't know enough about her employer yet and the source of funding.
Okay.
We might need a cooperative agreement. We might not.
Okay. So that's something we can pursue, but.
Oh, absolutely.
But I mean, I love this. I think it's cool. I think it's very cool. And I think you hit on a great topic with the dredge of the lake, and you know that's obviously going to be a hot topic, sore subject, however you want to look at it, you know, for a little bit, and maybe education helps dispel rumors, myths, etc. You know, or I don't know. I think it's great. I think this is really cool.
Yeah, and we can explore whatever topics y'all are interested. And as far as like an agreement, we have done MOUs with different organizations. A lot of times it's because we're using their space, so we kind of work through that. But yeah, we can definitely hash that out with my business office. A lot of times people think that I'm associated with Purdue Northwest, but I'm actually with West Lafayette people, so we can work out what we want to say in an MOU, and then I would just send it to my business office, and they would put their stamp of approval on it.
Okay.
Which I can do.
Yeah, and I think if like our cost is potting soil, I'm sure we can take care of potting soil. So, that's cool. No, I'm disappointed that I missed your original presentation, but I'm glad I got to meet you and hear a little bit about this today. So, that's cool. I like it. Anyone else? Sarah? Hope?
I'll be getting in touch with you. We'll line something up.
Yeah, I was excited to hear about your position. I was like, yay, we can work
Yeah.
together, and
Yeah.
it's great that you're on board to do
Yeah.
programming.
Yeah.
Possibilities are endless. The budget is not.
I have worked with like or entities with like little to no budget, so it is possible. I did a gardening camp with the Hammond Sportsplex last summer, and they were able to provide, I think, glue or maybe not even glue, I think I provided glue, so I was like, well, then I'll take it back after we use a little bit of it. They provided paper towels and plates, I think, so, yeah, we can work with any budget, I would say.
Well, and that's great, and I've heard similar tales of Hope and her previous employer of coming up with, 35mm foam canisters for a STEM project or whatever, so I'm sure we can get creative, so, awesome. If, again, if no one else has anything, Rebecca, thank you, and you're welcome to stay, you're welcome to go, whatever you prefer to do, but thank you very much for introducing yourself to the rest of us, and we look forward to working with you.
Yes, thank you so much, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on the consent agenda, we have one item, and that is the approval of the August 25th, 2022 meeting minutes.
I'll motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Rodriguez,
I'll second.
and we have a second from Greg Marquardt. Ashley?
Mr. Holstein?
Yes?
Mr. Markort?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Okay. In old business, we have a topic that we had brought up in the previous meeting, capital improvement project discussion began in the August meeting. So really not looking myself to take any action on anything, but tonight, and actually after my meeting with Mr. Austin, for future, we probably need to start getting together a new Parks and Rec,
Foundation.
no, master plans, and maybe this capital improvement falls in there, or maybe this is like our one little bite of the apple, and then we go, beyond that. Members, did you guys come up with anything? Is there something that you're just itching to maybe start looking into how we can pursue and tackle anything? I have one, but I'd like to hear from you guys as well.
I still like the idea of, walking, biking trails and some type of sports fields, whether that's full-on baseball and everything else, or just start with basketball courts, pickleball courts, that kind of thing. As far as big projects, I'd like to just finish the things that we have coming up too, just the pavilions, bathrooms.
Absolutely.
But yeah, as far as future thinking, that's where I'm at.
Greg?
I'm following everything you just said.
Okay.
It's
Sarah?
exactly my thoughts.
Anything?
Yeah, for
Did you have a
sure.
specific item in your mind?
Well, for sure the walking path. I know
Yeah.
that's already in motion, but I think that's a priority number one to me. I do like the pickleball.
So looking at the community survey, not in depth, there was a lot of tennis pickleball requests. To give you a specific number at the moment, I don't know, but working with completing existing projects, we have a lot of space to work with at Kiwanis or Lindsway. We have survey work being done, which is probably going to be one of the hurdles we would need to overcome. So and again, I'm not looking for any action tonight, necessarily, but I do think that, like, we should think about, you know, we're working on the dog park. We're working on, you know, getting the play equipment taken care of, which has been done. So let's think of, and again, I'm kind of on a tennis pickleball thing, because it's kind of the craze. You know, the concrete's probably your biggest expense. It doesn't have to be covered, you know, whatever. So I guess, and Paul, to your walking trail thing, obviously that's something we're working on with, help me with the name. The trail project.
Founders Creek Trail?
Founders Creek Trail, thank you. So that's obviously, I mean, are you thinking in addition to Founders Creek, or you're just wanting to see that
No,
continues moving
that's,
forward?
yeah, as far as one-off capital projects, you know.
Okay.
And hopefully, if and when our budget gets approved and we're able to get a park master plan
Mhm.
in place, I know we discussed that's gonna be one of the large expenses. So hopefully that really puts it all into perspective too, so.
Okay. So again, I just wanted to have that discussion. I think that we should think about the 4 new properties that we're working on, and how do we enhance that, how do we finish that? So, I guess what I'm looking for from legal, town, whatever, so obviously we have the survey work done. If we were to decide that we'd like to pursue at least 1 tennis pickleball court next year, we've already got the survey work started. For the pavilions, and I'm assuming that would encompass that whole lot, right?
Correct.
So we would know the lay of the land as far as that goes. What would be our next steps as a board to pursue such a capital improvement project in the following year?
Selection of which park is to go in, which could potentially also be tied in with the park master planning. I would also suggest potentially looking at grant opportunities for pickleball courts. I know there's one organization locally called the Legacy Foundation that has given out a grant. I know of at least one community, Griffith, that benefited. I think they got $25,000 as a 50-50 matching grant from that organization to do pickleball. But the first step would be choosing the location.
Okay. So obviously I think this is something we're going to be deferring to the future meeting, and then maybe even the future meeting after that, but I wanted to get the conversation started, you know, whether that be a work session before the next meeting, or however we want to go about doing it, but I think that we should be thinking forward, especially if, you know, the pickleball courts or the tennis courts or the proposed item there is something that we can utilize park impact fees for and stuff like that. Let's make sure we're utilizing those, and let's make sure we're utilizing those to enhance and continue to develop the projects that exist. So, I guess ultimately, I would need a motion to just defer this to the next meeting, correct? So, unless anyone has the desire to take action on this tonight, ultimately, I'm looking for a motion to defer to the following meeting.
I'll give a motion to defer it.
I'll second.
Okay. Do we have any further discussion about this? Any other thoughts on this?
Not tonight.
Okay.
I think I'd like to see the survey work completed, and then,
And we
see
can
how it
build
fits,
from there.
yeah, see how it fits in the master plan also, so.
Sure.
So, since we are kind of rolling to piggyback on that comment, and it does affect the next item, so I'm just gonna, we do have 2 of those surveys back now, out of the 4. So we're getting close to having them all back, and then we'll have that over to Sumac so they can start doing their design work, if that contract is approved.
Okay. Okay, very good. Okay, we'll just, we have a motion and a second to defer any further discussion about the capital improvement project to the following meeting. Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Holstein?
Yes.
Mr. Markwart?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Okay. So, item number 1 in new business is the Sumac proposal for design, construction, and administration for pavilions and the washrooms in the amount of $30,340. So I have, this goes back to the meeting we had with Sumac, trying to accomplish this, last time, obviously, without, revisiting the whole thing, we just weren't able to get done. People didn't take bids, and under their guidance, were taking steps that they feel are essential to make the bids maybe more appealing or whatever, so that we can move forward with the pavilions, including, like I said, the survey work. If you look at page 4, they have provided a timeline that if we were to take action as a board tonight to get the process moving, we would have completed pavilions by May 27th of next year. Obviously, there is a lot of other work that has to be involved, as you guys see in steps 1 through 11, to get to that point. The one thing that I was trying to find, and it's entirely possible I missed it, forgive me, I was just missing the word washroom, but Bartlett Wahlberg Construction Complete would be the actual washroom facilities, correct?
Correct. So I will just kind of add an addendum to that. Although this is their proposed schedule, when we do put it out to bid, we'll have a construction schedule from the people that will actually construct it, so that will likely change.
Right. So this is definitely more of a guidance, follow these steps and these things could happen, correct?
Yeah.
Board members, have you taken a look at this? Do you have any questions about this proposal from Sumac? Obviously, they've been established as a trusted company to handle these projects by the town. Anything from anyone, Sarah?
Have they given any indication that they would have issues getting, contractors to do this, or?
Not yet.
Not even there yet?
Yeah.
And again, I think one of the things that was missing from previous, Paul, was that they didn't have...
They couldn't tell you one of them.
Oh, really? Okay.
So unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I mean, the survey work alone is just a big step that
Yeah.
Sumac felt was missing from the previous, now the developer, the project builders would know what they're working with, lay of the land, et cetera. Greg, anything? Okay. Sarah, do you have anything?
So it says the total sum for all phases, so if we don't get it out to bid, what happens with the payment? Would be my question.
So if you get it out to bid, and since half of this is also kind of construction observation, they've got it as construction administration here. If it doesn't go that far, they wouldn't do the work, they wouldn't get paid for it.
And then obviously, we haven't even gotten to materials.
Correct.
So this is just them from start to finish doing the engineering, the documents, site visits. This is just all the administrative end of it. We'll obviously get into the material end of it
When the bids come back.
when the bids come back, and we'll figure out what that's ultimately going to cost.
You'll approve the specs, so you'll get a visit on what those specs are before they go out to bid.
Yeah. We'll have
You'll know, if you get bids back, it'll be based on those specs.
they'll probably come up with a, estimate of probable cost, which is their best estimate of what it should likely come back at.
Right.
Now, that's not a guarantee, as we've all found out in the last 2 years with COVID, that prices will likely come back maybe a little higher, could come back a little lower. Just depends on which way the wind's blowing that day, sometimes.
Okay, so, obviously this would solicit, I would need a motion to approve the amount of $30,340 to Sumac to begin the process of pavilions, hopefully for 2023.
Motion to approve.
Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Rodriguez.
I'll second.
I have a second from Greg. Any further discussion?
No, these definitely need to be obtained, and I'd like to move forward with the process. Hopefully we get this time.
Yeah, that's a good hope, for sure. I agree, so. Ms. Abernathy, if you do the roll call, please.
Mr. Holstein?
Yes.
Mr. Markwart?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Item number 2 on new business is discussion of proposed dog park equipment and amenities. And before we get into that, related, the Green Dog water fountain has been ordered with a 10-week estimated delivery. So that works real well for us with wanting to have things up and running. By spring, we'll have it, but it's also not sitting there right now. So, Ms. Miller, I kind of let you take the helm of this one, so feel free to fill us in.
Sure. So, there's a lot of options. We want to bring another aspect to the dog park, some potentially obstacle course type equipment, make it more fun for the dogs and the owners. We can buy kits or individual items. We have quotes from a few different companies. Pricing is it ranges wide based on the kit, the size of the kit, how many items you want. You guys could take some time to review it. Let me know your opinion on that. But the lead times they're pretty big. 8 to 10 is 10 weeks is the low end. Some say 17 to 20 weeks to receive product. So this is a good time to review it, so we can, if we want to proceed, have that prepared as well come the next warm season.
Yeah, so just for clarity, at least on the record, Mr. Austin, I'm looking at, you're looking at it too, I'm sorry, you have the iPad. The dollar amounts of 10,000, 15,000, et cetera, what is our threshold for having to, is this something we would have to put out to bid, or are we within the ability to just choose a vendor?
Do we know the total package that you're looking to install?
So we don't know which one we want to install, and the other aspect that we're waiting on is Public Works to advise us the construction costs on their end, whether it's concrete or whatever.
Do we have an estimated cost?
The most expensive kit that I've seen on here with taxes or not taxes included is around $15,000
Total?
Yeah. So it doesn't even reach the $50,000 quote threshold.
Right.
It's well under the $150,000 public bid.
So we have Home Depot, which I actually was really surprised they had a market for dog parks. Parks and Rec, which I just gotta say I love the name, and Kinetic Recreation. So I think these are some good numbers to work off of. I think we need to have further discussion, as far as other materials. Now, which one was it, Sarah, that you said which company did offer installation? There was a company that offered installation?
Yeah, there were two, Kinetic Recreation, which they included in their quote.
Yeah, that's right. There it is, yep.
And then Playground Outfitters, they said they offer installation, but they did not include it in the quote. I'm not sure if they were able to get the information in time, but I sent a follow-up email for that. So we'll definitely have to look at the professional through the company installation and see what Public Works says also as far as timeline, cost, do it in-house.
And that's what I was gonna ask is this installation cost is basically whatever is involved with installation in kinetic would be what we're looking for a number 4 from Public Works, correct? Like, do we need to make sure that, like, the Public Works fully knows, like, I guess what I'm getting at is, they just listed as installation, right? Do we have details as to what installation's involved, and can we convey that to Public Works so we make sure that the same process is followed?
Yes, and I did send them some specs. It's assembly of each individual item, plus digging into the ground, putting concrete,
Okay.
those aspects of it.
Okay.
Do you know if, that also includes like their professional opinion of how it should be laid out, or do we just kind of point on where to put it, or will they give an opinion?
It's up to our discretion where we would like it. I'm sure they would offer an opinion, but it's very going to be there to do the work.
And we can either add or subtract from these items, correct? Like,
Yes.
because we're gonna need at least 2 packing stations. I would say 1 on each side, you know,
Yes,
so people can get their bags and, you know, just stuff.
I agree. There's amenities you can look at, like the waste, benches. There's different styles of benches for the
Right.
dog and for the owner to sit at, and a lot of toys. So,
Some real cool stuff.
Yeah, from what I saw, I agree, there's a lot of cool stuff, and obviously with the dog park, we as I think a park board all want it to be more than just a fenced-in area. So we want to make it, you know, comparable to surrounding communities, usable for the animals with a purpose, and, you know, I don't know, let's make ours cooler than everyone else's if we can, I don't know, you know, I mean, yeah, I mean, obviously, let's see where Public Works comes in with what their costs are gonna be to install, so we can factor this into the equation. And I mean, I just wanna say thanks, because that came really quick. We had a discussion about it the other day, and we have 3 quotes in front of us, so we have more to look at, more to talk about. So, I think similar to capital improvement project, I think at this point, I would be looking for a motion to defer this for further discussion. Can I get that?
I'll make a motion to defer it until our next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Sure, that's the motion we've got on the table, defer to October meeting.
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Paul. Ms. Abernathy?
Mr. Holstein?
Yes.
Mr. Markort?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Okay, project updates, the clerk treasurer is not present and there was no report to be provided. Project updates number 2, washroom and pavilion projects for various parks. I don't think we have any updates on that.
Other than what I had already informed you of, that the 2 surveys have come in.
Perfect. So then item number 3, we've got playground improvements at various parks. I don't think we had anything occur since the mulch. I don't know that there's anything.
No, I think the mulch kind of, as far as the playground equipment goes, closed that out.
And I've spot checked driving around town. It looks like the weed barrier's holding up and the mulch is staying in its respective place. So we're good there. Okay. So, actually, normally we have, hang on a second.
I will also just add into, as we're still talking about playground equipment, or playgrounds, Kiwanis Park, you'll probably notice, if you can go past there, you'll notice that there's a flurry of activity going on over there, parking lot, sidewalks will be coming in pretty quickly.
Looks nice, they're working hard, I saw them the other day. Doing a good job. And the signs are up too, you know, by the railroad track, so we're getting somewhere.
All in good time.
Great.
Before we move on to written communication, obviously we had our senior social last week. Again, it was attended by probably about 25, 30 people. Edgewater Health provided a great presentation on heart disease, and just being healthy, and it seemed to be very well received by the attendees. You know, obviously, we'd like to thank Edgewater Health, and Edgewater is very eager to provide more educational opportunities for our seniors, or our community. They don't even want, they want to go deeper than just, you know, seniors. They're willing to do youth classes. There's a lot of possibility with them. They're very excited to work with us. I spoke with Hope today a little bit about that. As a matter of fact, I think almost that almost doesn't necessarily have to be the senior social every time. That can just be a parks event. You know, come listen to Edgewater Health talk about whatever.
Social.
Yeah, you know, whatever. So there's definitely some really good potential with that. As always, you know, Sip Coffee House comes in solid with their donation of coffee. Apparently the blend was just right this time. I got no complaints about the strength, so that was good. Apparently the one prior was a little bit too strong, so, you know, for myself, I'm good, but others it's different. So, we're really grateful for the community partners that have stepped up to help us. One thing I would like to bring up while we continue to talk about senior social, Hope, just for your knowledge, and then, you know, we'll figure this out. I spent the bulk of my day at MacArthur Elementary School today for the mum sale, and I kind of just shot out the idea of MacArthur providing a youth choir to perform for the seniors at the December social. The music teacher was elated. They don't have a choir per se, but they would be willing to put down a program. Their only request was that we would change the time of the December 15th event from like 10 to noon instead of 2 to 4. Apparently with bus driver shortages, they are having trouble getting buses for extra events after noon.
Okay.
So, so I've got you a lead on a potential choir for the December event. So, yes, so I have nothing for written communication at this point. We will open up public comment. Public comment going twice. Public comment a third time. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn, please?
Now motion to adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn by Paul.
And I'll second that.
Second by Greg. We will call this meeting adjourned at 7 p.m. Next meeting is October 27th, 2022.